Hello.
Let's go. We're back again.
Yes.
More fun stuff to talk about.
I'm so excited.
This one is a little like we're going to kind of handle, though, a question that people have been asking and something that comes up for, I think, both of us. And I know something that you personally dealt with. So we'll go ahead and share. So we're just going to jump in and start talking about infertility, PCOS, all those things. And I think, based on our backgrounds and, kind of what we do on a daily basis, like it's something that we come across on a regular basis.
I think when people ask me, when did you get pregnant? I got pregnant when I was 40. So it's like old, I guess, in the medical world. You're geriatric at this point. So, and I have I think I had mentioned to you that I have a lot of 30-some-year-old friends. They always say, oh my God, okay, so there's hope for me because then I'm not ready to get pregnant, right? So at 40, it's great. So I got pregnant at 40. I got pregnant again at 41, and two of them very, very different experiences. So the first time I got 40, I was just sharing this. So I knew that maybe TMI, but I don't care. So I never had any oopsies growing up, like never. So I knew when I got married and I knew he was the one that, okay, we've never had, and I was with him for a very, very long time, that I'm like, why am I not? I've never even had an oopsie. So I'm like, maybe I should probably see like a fertility specialist and see what's going on down there. Sure enough, your typical 40-year-old, I was told, is when they ovulate, they have about 12 to 13 eggs naturally. So I had 2 if I was lucky, like if they didn't even think that they were cysts, right? So I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do with 2 eggs? But so I went through 4 rounds of IUI, 3 of which was done with like Clomid for me to overproduce. And the 4th one, I said, you know what? Let me just not do any Clomid. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to, because we kept missing the mark. Like when you get your period, my periods were very, very short, but regular. I was regular, like on the dot, but they were short. So I would have them like every 21 days or something. And every time I would go in for an ultrasound, they kept missing the mark. So I said, you know what? I trusted my gut. I advocated for myself. And I said, you know what? Screw the Clomid. Let me just see after the ultrasound with my 2 little itty bitty eggs, what's going to happen. I said, and they said, oh, you should come back on a Wednesday. And I remember this clearly. You should come back on a Wednesday. Let's do the ultrasound. And I said, no, I need you to do an ultrasound tomorrow because I'm so wishy-washy with my egg, like the production. Let's see if this is an actual cyst. Is it going to shrink or is it like a viable egg? Sure enough, the next morning I go, they do an ultrasound and I was like, yes, one of them shrunk. The other one without Clomid, my little Isabella, now that who she is, that was my 1 egg. And also for everyone who's listening, you advocate for yourself. You trust your body, trust the cycle you're on. And it just takes that 1 egg for you to be a mom. And if that's what your goal is, I kid you not, no disrespect to any of the medical professionals. I think that they've helped many thousands, hundreds and thousands of women out there to get pregnant, but you have to advocate for yourself and trust your body in this journey because to them, I'm sorry to say, you're just another patient.
Yeah.
But for yourself and your family, you are who you are, right? So trust that 1 egg, that's all you need,
right,
is to get pregnant. So that was 1. My second pregnancy, I actually, now that I done my due diligence and I did my research, it was an Ozempic baby, apparently. So after I had Isabella, I had my postpartum weight that I carried. And I didn't even gain that much weight to begin with, but I still wanted to get back to where I was. I took literally Ozempic, not even like the brand name. I took Ozempic, and because I didn't know much about it back then. But sure enough, I said, okay, I'm going to come off of it because I was ready to do another round of IUI, and you have to be off this medication or off the GLP-1 for at least 2 months prior to even starting to thinking about conceiving. And I got off of it and I got pregnant naturally. So God knows how many eggs I've had during Mateo's time. But yeah, I mean, I was in Vegas, girlfriend, I was in Vegas partying and I had no clue I was pregnant the whole time.
But I think that goes to the fact of stress plays such a huge part
yeah.
in it.
Oh
I mean,
my
it was
gosh.
just the same thing. I have family members, and I won't call them out. They'll listen to this and be like, hey, she's talking about me.
Right.
But they were the same thing. They were going through all of it. They were harvesting eggs. They, their first one, they had a miscarriage. And then, they decided they were going to go on a cruise and all this kind of stuff. And then they were going to come back and they were going to go for the second round
Then
of
we'll
IVF.
start again. Yeah.
Right. And they went on the cruise and they came back. And, they always check all the things and they go, we're really sorry. We can't do this round of IVF. You're pregnant.
Yeah.
And I think it's so many times people don't understand how much stress can play into stuff. So kind of like you, it was probably your body like, okay, give me a moment.
Yeah, you feel
to take
defeated because you're like, why is this not working for me?
Yeah.
Mind you, I'm 40 years old, but I didn't care because my mind doesn't feel like I'm 40. My heart didn't feel like I was 40. Not that 40 is even old nowadays, but like when you're speaking, what's the decline in ovaries? I don't know at what age it starts. I think it's like 20 something, if I'm not
the
mistaken.
amount of eggs that are actually available.
Then you start depleting in egg volume or whatever. So so when they said, hey, girlfriend, you need to have 13 eggs, but you're lucky if you have 2. I was like, well, shit. And then you go through that motion of, okay, well, maybe I don't need to have kids. Maybe I already have the one. I don't need to have a second one. Maybe it's just not meant for me. So you try to trick yourself into thinking you're okay without babies. And there's nothing wrong with not having babies by all means. I would be okay with either or. But it's a psychological thing. So no wonder everyone's stressed out because God forbid someone, especially a family member, knows your journey. Are you pregnant yet?
Yeah.
Are you pregnant? When is the second one? Like, dude, let me just get through this first one and then we'll worry about number 2 and 3 if there is such a thing. So it's like that constant pressure. So when it doesn't happen for you the first time, second time, third time, whatever, however many takes, you're just like, fucking A, man, leave me alone.
Yeah, it is hard. And I remember when I had my first, I was coming off of bodybuilding shows. And so with that like extreme dieting.
Yeah, how was that?
I was really, really worried. And then my husband was coming back from.
Wait, did you already have a baby before then?
No.
So after bodybuilding, you started.
So this was when I was doing all the bodybuilding before. And then, I had been taking all these supplements and I never did steroids or anything like that. But I still, there were fat burners and there was very high protein, very low carb, very low fat diet. And I was like, maybe I've totally screwed myself. Like how many, like who knows? And it was really interesting because my husband came back. He had served 2 tours in Iraq with being a Marine. And so I knew that we wanted to start trying. And I actually think like he came back and I think I got pregnant, but I think I miscarried. It was the weirdest period I've ever had in my life. It was just, it was like, here's your TMI. It was just clotty and clumpy. And I was just like, something's wrong.
Right.
But the very next month I got pregnant. And so that was no problem. But then at that same time, I had heard so many friends having problems with like second infertility and second infertility. But, with our second, I remember telling my husband, I said, we should really be careful. Like, and I never had any, we got married when we were 21 and 22 and I didn't have my first until I was 30. Like I turned 31 a month after having her.
Oh, wow.
So, there was no oopsies or any like, it was always like, it would be fine because we're married and all this kind of stuff. But with our second, I remember saying, we got to be careful. Like, I know I'm ovulating. Like, we got to be careful.
Yeah.
And I remember that night, it was just the heat of the moment. I was like, I bet you I'm going to be pregnant. I said, I really think so. And then I remember it was like within a week I was sick. And I remember like looking and I was like, I was so nervous to take the test because in between those 2 weeks of like when that happened and when I found out, he had said, I think we should wait 6 months to a year before we try again. And I'm sitting there going,
what's happening?
But I was just like, I don't know that we're gonna.
Yeah.
So then I remember I took the test and I didn't even like I took one of those that said pregnant on it, right? And so I didn't even share it with him because there was so much going on with like all of our business stuff and work and that was when we had like the nutrition stores and it was just kind of a really stressful time and all this and I was like, I don't know about this. So I waited days to tell him to the point where when I went to pull out the test, it didn't even say pregnant on it anymore. So I had to go take more tests just to, and I mean, he had the best response. He just looked at me and he goes, and Alex was there and she was like 18 months old and he's like, well, I guess she's going to be a big sister. So it was like the best thing, but it was just this weird like time. But it's interesting because you talked about the Ozempic baby. I don't ever tell my women that are perimenopausal or menopausal this, but our detox program that we work with has 7 babies under our belt because of people going through the program and doing the program and then ending up pregnant. So one of the ladies we were working with, she was one of our bodybuilding clients, right? And she got to this point, she had lost all this weight. And a lot of times we have transformation stories where when we were training bodybuilding clients, they would want to, do 6 months. We don't want to do this because if you have a lot of body fat to lose and then you've got to like tone up and get ready for the bodybuilding show. And I said, so let's start this whole journey and this is what we're going to do. And towards the end, she's like, I don't know what's going on. Like I'm having a really hard time. But remember, her and her husband had been trying to have kids for 5 years and they just had kind of given up because they were like, everything we've tried, it doesn't work.
Right.
And so she was like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, I can't lose this weight or whatever. And I was like, you should really go to your doctor, whatever. She goes to the doctor and she calls me up. She goes, you're not going to freaking believe this. She's like, I'm pregnant.
Oh, God.
She's like, but I'm not just barely pregnant. She's like, I'm 13 weeks pregnant.
Oh.
So that's why she couldn't do. But what is interesting when you said that about Ozempic is because one of the things that I really focus on when I work with women with their nutrition and with the detox, it's on resetting their insulin. So if you think about it, I mean, that's the whole premise of these GLP-1s is to reset the insulin and get the insulin to work the way it's supposed to work because our society is...
We're just shoving everything down our
throats. That's a nice way to put it. But so that's really the problem. We are like at an insulin crisis. So I've heard so many stories and I've heard so many women that have actually reached out to me where because before I ever started on pre and postnatal or perimenopause and menopause, I was doing pre and postnatal. So I was working with all those women. And again, it was this whole insulin crisis.
Yeah. And
so they'll reach out to me and say, hey, my doctor said they think I should go on GLP-1 for a little while just to get ready for like having a baby. Like this is just gotta be off. I was like, there's so much research and science behind it. I mean, you have a medical reason why you should actually, consider something along these lines.
And the benefit to that is, here's the thing. If let's say you think you're overweight, let's just say 20 pounds. Let's just put that number out there. Let's say you're 20 pounds overweight. Then you get pregnant and then you gain another. So given that you have, I'm assuming, poor eating habits and you can't control your diet or exercise or just lifestyle, you're 20 pounds overweight, then you get pregnant. Then you gain another 30 pounds or 20 pounds, which on average, 25 to 30 pounds. I mean, listen, I've had girlfriends who've gained 80 pounds during their pregnancy. Yeah. Because they think that's a reason to eat. Oh, you're eating for two. And no, honey, you're not eating for two. You're just eating for yourself and you should slow down. And your husband gains weight too, but that's a whole different thing. So now you're 50 pounds overweight. So then you're putting your body and the baby at risk. Gestational diabetes, that's another thing. So it's so great to consider getting on these medications if you really want to, or even getting your nutrition checked and having to work with a coach to lose the weight and then get pregnant, because then you're giving yourself some leeway. Like, okay, it's very natural for you to gain weight. You should gain weight during pregnancy. Do not diet while you're pregnant. Absolutely not, right? So it's a fantastic idea to lose the weight, however you choose to do it, before you even get pregnant. And let's just talk about inflammation, right? Yeah. That's part of the reason why this all works, because if you're dieting, exercising, if you're on GLP-1s, you're ridding your body of all the excess fat, all that heaviness that just sits on your gut probably, or your thighs or whatever. And you want to reset your body to a point where you don't have the inflammatory factors like triggering your inflammation, if that makes sense. I don't know how to say it in like a proper way. So the inflammation was one thing, and then insulin regulation was another. And then with all of this, for some reason, your people who, let's say, have the PCOS or struggle with PCOS, it levels out your hormones.
Well, and I think the key with it too is when we talk about all those, I don't think what women understand so much is how much hormones are tied together. So a lot of times when women are struggling with infertility, there's issues. It's an imbalance in their estrogen. It's an imbalance in their progesterone. PCOS, a lot of women don't understand that one of the things that they look for with PCOS is really high testosterone too. So that's another factor. And what I see with women, and this is why the nutrition that I focuses on resetting some of these major hormones. So whether it's perimenopause or menopause, and the irony of it is I basically do the same nutrition program with the teenager that's having problems with their acne, with the woman that's trying to get pregnant, the woman that's postpartum, the woman that's perimenopausal, and the woman that's menopausal. And the main reason why is because your estrogen, your progesterone, and your testosterone, they're all impacted by all your other hormones. And so what people don't understand is insulin is a massive hormone in your body. It's one of the number one. So metabolism hormones, you've got your insulin, your thyroid, and your cortisol. If any one of those is slightly off, so that's exactly what happens in perimenopause. The progesterone slightly goes down, which makes you estrogen dominant. And the second your estrogen goes up, guess what? You become insulin resistant. And so it's the same thing with women that are going through infertility. If their progesterone is down, which is more of the calming hormone, they're all of a sudden estrogen dominant, and all of a sudden they have insulin issues. Oh, that's interesting. So there's so many ties. I mean, I have dove into the science of hormones so much because it's just fascinating talking to women about it. I know.
You should have been in the medical field.
You know what? It's so funny. I just advocated for one of my really, really good friends, and she sent me all her blood work, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, pretty sure this is what the doctor's going to tell you have. And she's like, really? I said, yeah, looking at all these numbers and everything. And I said, I will be shocked if this isn't what she says you have. And sure enough, she came back. She's like, you were right.
Yeah, you're right.
She goes, the doctor actually credited you in the fact that you actually knew what I had.
Good. That's so good.
But it was an autoimmune disease. And so I'm like, it's an autoimmune disease. So because it's an autoimmune disease, I'm like, I have like my business partner and best friend, like she has an autoimmune disease and it's tied to another one. I said, so you have to look at all these factors. So I came back in, I was like, remember I was talking to you about your nutrition? You really got to be on top of your nutrition.
Yeah.
So it's just, it all goes around, but it's just, I know I'm a nerd with it, but it's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It really is. And then once you start to really understand what's happening, we always depend on a doctor, right? Or some sort of physician to like tell us these are your lab work. It's like so vanilla, so like boring, like meh, it's just whatever. But if you really dig into your own, invest your time into your own health, then you start to truly understand. And then you can help others too. I mean, you try to help yourself first, but then you can help others.
Yeah, I think the key is advocating. I mean, and we'll just admit here, because I know I talked about it on one of the other podcasts, I have ignored the doctor that has called me back numerous times about the osteoporosis and wanting me to get, because I'm convinced. And I just listened to, I'm a huge Mel Robbins fan, and I was just listening to one of the podcasts she had, and it was this lady talking all about your mindset and all about how the power of your mind. And she had brought up all these research studies about how they had tested people. And one of them that she was talking about, which I thought was fascinating, is she was talking about maids that clean hotels for a living. And they said they were asking these maids, like, do you do any kind of exercise? And the maids were like, no, I don't have any time. Like, I'm from 8 to 5 and there's just no time, and I got to go home and take care of my family. And so they had these researchers to come in and talk to these other maids and say, you do understand that the amount of work that you're doing, this is how many calories you're burning. This is how much stuff you're going to say that is exercise in itself. And so they did a study actually looking at these women and following them for a period of time, for the women that thought they were just cleaning, the hotels and then going home, and the women that attributed from 8 to 5 cleaning the hotel, they were exercising the entire time. After about 6 months' time, the women that thought it was exercise, their blood pressure went down, they lost weight, like they had all these really good like biomarkers that all improved. But so it just went back to me, and I just said, and that was my best friend Stacia, said to me when I told her about the osteoporosis, she's like, you got to just put it in your mind. You've got a healthy spine. You're building yourself for it. This is what you got to do for the mindset. So I think it's so key. Like, when you went through like the whole what would you say with like your stuff with infertility and women that are struggling with that? Like, what was the mindset that you were going through that were finally like, I'm doing this my way?
It was a feeling. And after 3 failed IUIs, I kind of got the hang of it. Like, and honestly, as cheesy as this sounds, I went on Amazon. I was told by my fertility acupuncturist, Deanie is her name. She's out in, I want to say, Torrance. She truly helped me. So I did a 2-hour, I kid you not, 2-hour interview with her over the phone. She said, you need to get rid of this, that, what are you eating? What soap are you using? What detergent are you? I mean, she went down to like the detail of the details, of what I was doing. And one of the things she said was, get this thing on Amazon. You wake up every morning, before your feet hit the ground from the bed, you check your temperature, your basal metabolic temperature. That's what it is. Because my fertility sticks, where it says happy and then the flashing happy, it was all a miss. That's all bullshit for me. Or like the dipstick that I would do when I'm ovulating. It was all crap. It was so off. I can't even tell you. So the one thing that was very consistent was my temperature. As annoying as it was, every morning I would take my temperature and I could see it trending up and up and up and up. And that day I was ovulating, and the fertility sticks were not showing that I was ovulating. I think it was like a blank, like no happy face or something. So I was like, fuck this. I'm doing this my way. Like, there's no way. So I called the doctor. I'm like, I need to come in for the ultrasound. And sure enough, that was it. But I'm like, but my temperature says. I just stuck with it. I knew something was going to happen. Because they don't know. They don't live with you. They don't, they're not with you when you go pee. They're not with you when they're feeling cramping, or, when you get that weird feeling of ovulation, that crampy feeling or bloated feeling. Like, why are you bloated all of a sudden? It was just that. So they're not with you. They're just literally looking at an ultrasound, which is a great tool. But also, I don't know, the temperature did it for me.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
It works. And it's so easy to give up. You just want to give up, because when you have all the things flying at you, you should do this, you should eat that, you should do that, have sex, don't have sex, you should wait a little, make sure you're having sex because the sperm lives in your body for 3 days. And then so you have a good chance, a 3-day rate that that's when you're going to get pregnant. There's so much information. I mean, I've had actually people call me, not because I'm a nurse, but I'm just Nar, who's a 40-year-old at that time, a 40-year-old trying to get pregnant. I had so many people call me and say, in tears, I don't know what else to do, and it's like the support group that you have. And you have to have the support group with people who have gone through this.
Yeah.
Because if you ask my mom, for example, she got pregnant naturally like you did, but they don't get it. They're not there. They weren't there at that time where you're sitting in the car after a doctor appointment and you're just bawling your eyes out and you're like, what the fuck? I'm supposed to be doing this. I was made to do this and I'm falling short. Why? Or why am I having no problems with my first one? I had no problems. And then the second one, it's like, what is happening? So I think a good support system is crucial in this journey of yours. Everyone needs to have one. And if you don't have anyone personally who's gone through infertility, I'm sure there are things that you could find online. They're so supportive. I mean, Facebook is great for things like that. Yeah, I'm not a big Facebook fan, but Facebook is wonderful. I will say Facebook is great.
Yeah, if you need to find Nar on Facebook, I'm going to direct you to her.
Yeah, because I don't know what the fuck's happening. Someone tagged me the other day and then they were like, oh, Nurse Nar does really good with Botox and stuff. And I'm like, how do I even find this post again? Like, your notifications that pop up on your phone. Yeah. And then I tried to go look for it. And I'm like, where? So just for me to thank them, like, hey, thanks for the shout out, right? But no.
Yeah, we'll need to make sure that the Seriously WTF What the 40 is on Facebook.
Okay. I mean, I feel like all 40-plus-year-olds are on Facebook nowadays, which is so...
I think it's hard. I think that's our ideal demographic, is right on Facebook. But we're trying to be cool. We're trying to play on Instagram, right?
Listen, but we are cool. Like, I'm on Instagram and I love it. It's so much fun and it's so simple. But then, like, Facebook is complicated. What's this stupid meta verified thing that's happening? And the 1,000... other accounts are connected to Facebook. And I'm like, what the fuck? What is happening? So, yeah. I don't just going on a random with my Facebook.
Okay,
I hate it.
So if we were to answer the question, if we were to do, I think we're at our rapid fire.
What?
Facebook or Instagram, you would say?
All the way. Instagram. Come on now. Come on.
And I would say I found some of my best clients on Facebook.
Shut up.
So, but I'm playing in Instagram. And so
I'm just going to hand over my account to you and be like, you handle it. I don't know how to do this shit. I really don't.
But I had a goal at the beginning of the year that I wanted to have social media accounts. I wanted, and it's so funny because my kids keep saying, you need to say the right number, Mom, 17,500. And I literally hit it last week. It was like
on
the
Facebook?
Coolest thing. No, so between the two, I wanted 17,500. So I have 10,000 on Instagram
wonderful.
and 7,500 on Facebook. It
You're
was like,
amazing.
I about died. I was
You're
like,
amazing.
I have worked so hard for this. So,
Aw, I love that.
but
good for you.
People are going to find us more from this. Okay,
Hell
we got to
yeah.
go. Rapid fire questions.
Okay, go.
Pumpkin spice or apple cider?
None. What the fuck is that?
Okay, that's how I feel too. I don't like them
Ew.
either.
Who does that?
I can't stand. I like pumpkin, but pumpkin spice coffee is disgusting. And it doesn't even, if you go to like our favorite places, not to be named, that are
I'm just going to hide this cup.
there's no pumpkin actually even in the coffee.
Ew, I
It's
can't.
just-
Stick to a latte with oat milk. That's what I do.
I have a feeling that I know which one you're going to say on this one.
What?
Cozy sweater or leather jacket?
Ooh. Okay, I'm going to go with a leather jacket.
Okay, I'm going to go with cozy sweater.
Yeah.
Although I do love a good leather jacket.
It's so badass.
Yeah. Okay. And then this one, morning walk or evening stretch?
I don't know. Morning walk, I think. Maybe not. No, who am I kidding? I'm not a fucking morning person. Evening stretch. That's what I do at home. Yeah.
I'm a
do
morning
stretch.
walk person.
Yeah.
I love it.
Of course you do, because you like Facebook.
My husband gives me a hard time because I was telling him I like to take my walk first thing in the morning because it totally like relieves me and
very
de-stresses
good.
me. He goes, what do you have to get de-stressed from? He goes, you literally get out of bed, you put your shoes on, you put the dog's leash on, you grab some warm water with lemon and you walk out the door. He's like, what do you need to distress from? I'm like, it just sets me up for the whole day.
It's actually the sound of that is awesome. I love that. I would love to do that, but I can't because I have 2 little ones at home.
Yes.
By the time I'm done changing diapers, I have to go to work. So
yeah, it's pretty freeing when now I'm like, I can just like walk out the door and say, see you later, kids.
yeah. So maybe if you're having issues with infertility, don't have children. No, I'm just kidding. They're amazing.
They're amazing.
They're so cool.
Okay, that's a wrap.
Yep.